Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all you mensch out there, and welcome to Yapping with me, Saul Montes-Bradley, the largest human repository of useless information, tonight with my dear friend and a man full of information that is not useless, like mine, um, Ron Coleman.
How you
And
doing?
yeah, I'm doing great. How about you? Let's dispense with the introductions. We'll do them later.
Yeah, listen, if they don't know who Ron Coleman is by now, come on. This is my
Yeah,
third time on your stream. That's pretty much sufficient to establish me as a bona fide celebrity.
you think so? I thought this was eating at the basis of your celebrity status. Who is Ron Coleman? He's a nice man, but don't worry. He's now showing up with this schmuck soul all the time.
Yeah, it happens. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
How was your time off? How was your trip?
My trip was excellent. I was able to confirm firsthand that 90% of the crap in the clickbait media in the US is, as we very well anticipated, uh, bullshit.
What in particular?
And
What
yeah,
is it that makes you say? I mean, of all the things to focus on, what is it? What is it about the media narrative that struck you as that?
well, let me put it this way: the new sheriff of Nottingham is a Jew, and I don't see headlines. The UK has fallen to Israel or shit like that. Eh, things happen of a variety or from a variety of fronts, none of which is decisive. And the UK is no more a has no more fallen to the God of Abraham because the Sheriff of Nottingham is a Jew than fallen to the hordes of Mohammed because a handful of morons decided to stage a protest in central London.
I'm having trouble with your metaphor. Who's this sheriff of Nottingham you're talking about here?
There's a Jewish guy.
Who? Oh, you
Hmm?
mean literally the person who occupies the office in the United Kingdom of Sheriff of Nottingham is a
It's Jewish.
Yehud.
And he took the oath of office in his synagogue.
Okay, listen, that's his ethnic pride. That I don't
Yeah.
see.
No, that's okay. I have no problem with him.
Yeah,
But the thing is, had the guy been a Muslim, it would have been another proof that the UK has fallen to the hordes of Mohammed.
your point is that the bad news about the death of the United Kingdom is premature.
Absolutely, in a Mark Twain style of premature. Rumors of the death of the UK are highly exaggerated.
Highly exaggerated. I think actually that was the cliche I was looking for.
Yes.
And how long were you there?
This time I was there about 10 days. I walked about, according to my wife, who keeps track of these things, believe it or not, I walked something like 60 miles
Wow.
around London.
That explains why you have such nice color. You must be in great shape now.
I do. I'm ready to screw up with my health again. But yeah, no, it's and that was the warm up.
That
Then
was
came Madrid, Barcelona, London, and the towns of Toscana and Liguria. So
what, so maybe it's worth it still to go to Europe, huh?
absolute, I would say it apodactically. Absolutely, it is the cheapest it's been since '82.
Since '82.
Yeah, in '82, going to Europe was cheaper than staying at home, and we are just about there now.
You're charting.
Hotels are cheap. They throw food at you. Uh, Everything is cheap to us.
I guess the dollar is strong compared to the euro.
The dollar is not the strongest it's ever been, though it is strong. It is almost 1 to 1, um, almost. It varies between 105 and 111. Uh, but I remember a few years back when it was 170 to 1. And I also remember a time in the 80s when it was 80 cents of a dollar per euro. But it's almost 1 to 1. It's relatively strong compared to the past 20 years.
Right.
And, but you have a fixed menu at any restaurant in Madrid. It's usually composed of 3 or 4 dishes. The appetizer, first of fish, first of beef, and dessert with wine.
Shellfish, folks. Well, not necessarily.
€11.
Yeah, I bet. Well, in Spain, you can live like a king.
That's like $12. Give me a break. You can't have a Whopper in this country for that kind of money.
That's right.
So you eat like a king. Hotels, very, very, very decent hotels. I don't know. I paid $45 for a great hotel in Montepulciano with a spa, and the $45 included access to the spa.
Even for you.
Yeah, they save money with me because the hell, listen, I'm surrounded by some of the best vineyards in the world. All of these people with massive amounts of Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, Brunello di Montalcino, and I'm going to spend my time in a spa?
Fair.
That doesn't work for me. My relaxation and get back to health technique was to drink the wine at the hoof.
What's not to like?
Yeah, well, come on. And may the God of Abraham forgive this weak offspring.
It's not for me to say.
Man, you can't be kosher over there.
No, you can't.
No, you can't. It's impossible.
In London you can, but not in Spain.
Yes, in London you can probably train yourself to be, although the best of the cuisine of the world is in London.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Because the English are not known for their food.
No. And I believe it's like a blood libel. First of all, because I happen to like English food, but that's because I'm a pervert. Give me a good steak and kidney pie.
Really?
Oh, I'm a happy camper.
That lusty Anglo-Saxon fare.
Oh God, it's or lamb chops with mint sauce. It makes my day.
It's filling. It's the real deal.
It's the real deal, and it is the most underrated cuisine in the world, but it is good. However, it is not the English cuisine that I was speaking about, but the best of everybody else's cuisine is in London.
That's actually what I had the feeling you were actually saying.
Yes,
it's kind of setting you up for that.
Yes, I know. The best Indian food, London. The best Chinese food, London has down. Most of the Chinese have never seen shit like this. I went to one of my favorites. I've been going there for 45 years. The Alhambra is a Lebanese restaurant in Mayfair. Their caramelized sweetbreads are something that people write poems about.
Did you write a poem? Are you going to read a poem for us now?
Several, but I'm not going to read it now because they're kind of nasty, and we're going on YouTube. But It's like losing this caramelized sweetbread is like losing your virginity again. It's that kind of good.
Someone had a
And
very good experience.
oh, and then I discovered around the block a new Iranian restaurant.
Romanian?
Iranian.
Iranian. Okay.
And next to it, a new Turkish restaurant. With the Turkish restaurant, I was with the owner, and we started talking. And this is a guy who escaped Erdogan's efforts to turn Turkey into an Islamic republic, and arrived in London and 20 years ago, when this shit show was beginning, and started with a fish and chip stand, and then it became a chain, and then he opened a restaurant, and now he opened his masterpiece. Man, I'll give you the address because, we're not collecting ads, so I'm not going to give more information than what I did. But in private, I'll give you the address and Odysee. You have to go there. It's a religious experience.
What am I going to do with a Treifa restaurant in Turkey, a Turkish restaurant?
What do you mean? All the food in there is kosher. I assure you. I promise you.
Rabbi Montes-Bradley assures me.
Rabbi Scholl, please.
Rabbi Shaul.
I never told you, by the way, the first time that my great-grand-aunt Ida saw me, I had gone to Philadelphia to make her acquaintance, and that of other cousins and aunts of my grandfather, and who had gone through Ellis Island in 1905, I think it was. And then instead of staying in New York with the rest of the family, they got their jobs in Philadelphia. Take a wild guess, textile industry.
Right, yeah, I'm sure they knew my Philadelphia family.
Most likely because, it was a community.
Yeah, although that sounds like a generation ahead of mine. Mine didn't get to Philadelphia until the 50s.
No, these guys got there much earlier than that.
Yeah, you're telling me.
But they were there. They're still there. In fact, they're into the 5th generation there now.
Oh, okay. So,
and then all of the old gals would come to me and pick my cheeks. I had a big, full red beard, but big, but I looked like a caveman. And they would pick my cheeks, and I'm Yanko's grandson. Imagine that, I'm Yanko's grandson. You have to meet Ida. And they brought me to see this fragile old lady in a wheelchair. And when she saw me, life returned to her. It was a miracle. And she almost got on her feet. A rabbi! We got a rabbi in the family! And nobody had the heart to tell her the truth. I believe she died convinced that Yanko's grandson was a rabbi.
And did she see that she was excited about it?
She was excited about it. She was fine. It's like, now I can meet God, you see.
Our family doesn't have to die. It doesn't have to meet our Creator in total shame.
Exactly. So when I go and sit behind the vineyard behind below the fig tree or under the fig tree, I can tell our ancestors that we finally made it.
So we say there's an expression in the Talmud. Adam kone olamo b'shah achas. A person can acquire his world to come in one moment.
Yes.
That by virtue of your having brought so much Yiddish nachas.
Yes.
To your great aunt, maybe you set yourself up for the entirety of eternity. The Lord may be very well so pleased with you.
If they go by her level of happiness, I'm done. I can eat pork. I can do anything I want.
But on the other hand,
I'm already there.
You have annoyed. Forget about the personal and ritual. You have annoyed so many people.
True.
So
And oftentimes on purpose.
that definitely makes no. I mean, I think that would make it immensely worse. Unless they're the right people. And boy, there are a lot of people out there that are really deserving of being annoyed these days, aren't they?
Yes, I make it my business to annoy the annoyable. Sometimes, they complain.
Really bad people. We're really flushing out the really bad people now. And a lot of them are administrators in universities with Jewish last names.
Yes.
These are some of the worst, the weakest, the most unprincipled, the most craven, the most careerist and ambitious and amoral scumbags and boy, did they make a nice living. These people live high on the hog at the nonprofits of the Ivy League and whatnot. The money these people make is mind-boggling. And these
come on, $1 million a year is not shy. Not a bad salary for throwing your heritage under the bus. Because that's what they do, by the way. They do it on purpose.
That is what they do.
And then you have, even some Jews oppose these, and then they have these idiots for examples. I do annoy them. I annoyed them in Buenos Aires 50 years ago. I used to say in meetings at the various clubs that an anti-American Jew is an imbecile born without a brain. Of course, 90% of the Jewish community in Buenos Aires was furiously anti-American.
And they were mostly they were communists.
Yes, and various let's say various colors of communism, Trotskyism, Fabianism. They didn't like me when I said that. If you're a Jew and you're anti-American, you're a freaking moron. You were born dead.
But that's really, so you're talking about something that you would have said, we're talking about in the 50s, not, you're not that old, in the 60s.
No, in the 60s I wasn't that old either. In the 70s in particular.
So in the 70s already, everyone, I mean, that was in South America, it's been unfashionable to like America since before your time. Right?
In South America, it's fashionable to dislike America since they came into being. I always tell people, anti-Americanism is ingrained in the fabric of the culture down there.
Yes, and you believe, if I recall correctly, you believe that is partially a result of the teachings of the Catholic Church.
No, not at all.
Oh, this is a different.
No. Partially is what doesn't belong in there.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I mean, so but then you're going to ascribe the
it's entirely due to Sunday sermons. There was a homily by Dean Funes. Funes was a notorious son of a bitch. That was the dean of the Cathedral of Buenos Aires in the first 20 years of the 19th century. And in 1810, as the neighbors of Buenos Aires got together and created their own government in opposition to the French occupation of Spain, this guy was busy advising his flock not to follow the example of our evil neighbor to the north, where they think they can govern themselves without the wise counsel of the church. I'm not making this shit up.
No, I believe it, but I believe it.
So, and that is to this day what is taught And the discourse has changed a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. But you see, America is a materialistic society that pays no heed to spirituality and creates a race of greedy motherfuckers who will kill their mothers for $1. Now, even people who consciously support the U.S. will fall back into this grotesque anti-Americanism whenever pushed just a little. You see, in Venezuela, people work for a living. In the U.S., people live to work. Well, if that were true, I prefer to live to work than live in Venezuela. Just saying.
Well, keep in mind that you're assuming the living part. In Venezuela, if you might not be able to even live. Forget about what your priorities are.
You live with permission.
Con permiso.
Yes. Se vive con permiso. Whose permission? The big kahuna. If he doesn't give you permission, you're dead.
El jefe.
Yeah.
So what do you think of the jefe in Argentina now? What do you think of the present Argentinian jefe? El presidente.
Well, to me, this is the greatest comedic show since the Three Stooges.
Comedy show.
Yes.
The Three Stooges.
Yes. You cannot watch what's going on in Argentina without laughing your ass off. Unless, of course, you happen to be in Argentina.
Then it's not so funny. Oh, I mean,
no.
I mean, the economy has gotten even worse. Even worse.
Well, it had to. It had to. The inflation numbers are leading indicators. When you have inflation rising, the latest number that you have is what already happened, but you still have shitloads of money working into the system. When Milei assumed office, the economic factors were already in place to treble inflation. And whatever he does in the first 2 months may moriggerate the rising inflation, but it's not going to reverse it.
There's really no good outcome from what I understand.
No.
Except the only advantage to having him in office is that he seems to be willing to speak very plainly in a way that Argentinian politics has not historically
never done. Yes,
right.
That is his saving grace by a long shot.
His big mouth.
Yes,
but also my perception is that he's a very intelligent man.
He is.
Yeah, he is. I wish he'd stay a little bit further away from the Jewish stuff, to tell you the truth. We don't really need...
Well, not only that. Not only that, he lays it on too heavy, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I'm saying.
And knowing Argentines, this can only lead to a backlash.
Right, especially because no matter what happens, the odds of his really succeeding are very slim.
Yes. Very.
Sorry.
Very. And if the fascist mob ever returns to power, or rather when it does, they're going to go after the Jews with the passion unseen since the pogroms in Buenos Aires and Rosario in the 20s and 30s.
Really? You really think so?
Oh, absolutely.
And how come?
Well, already they are defacing the synagogue on Libertad Street almost daily.
Because of Gaza, in other words.
Because of Gaza, because Milei is a Jew. I mean, he's not, but he claims to be, or he claims that he wants to be.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
And he's right. He takes philo-Semitism Again, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm in a very late.
he is
I'm in a very-
unwittingly, because I don't think he's doing it on purpose at all. But he's unwittingly stoking the fires of anti-Semitism in a fascist society.
Yeah, Jacobo says Jewish. Yeah, he is Jewish.
Yeah.
But also even though he's not Jewish, and even though he hasn't converted to become Jewish, not only does he associate himself with a lot of Jewish stuff and trappings, but also there's a lot about his personality that is Jewish style, because he is he's an iconoclast, and he has a weird lifestyle.
You know that 10 years ago he would have been a Buddhist with the same passion.
Well, because of his life, or because of what would have been?
No, because he was exploring Buddhism at the time.
Well, he's a searcher. Obviously, he's a searcher. He's an intellectual. He really is an intellectual. But who knows?
I think Tobin wrote a series, and he is definitely a searcher.
Let's face it. There's no one in American public life who is remote, certainly in politics, who could be described that way. These are people who don't care about the big picture. Their worldviews are entirely mercenary, negotiable, and it's all about power.
You just reminded me of Groucho Marx. This is my principle, and I stand on it. And if you don't like it, I have 3 or 4 more that we can try.
Right.
That's Obama. Biden, that's not Biden, because Biden doesn't remember if he had a principle or not.
I have you know that he's a devout Catholic. I'm constantly reminded by the press that Biden is a devout Catholic. Therefore, the respect that when people say that he was disrespectful towards Easter last weekend, how do I know that's just like I know that Antifa is good because they're against fascism. It's right in their name. It's right in their name, Antifa. So they're on the right side.
Oh,
so
how can you doubt it?
Joe goes to church every Sunday, okay? And therefore we know that
have you noticed how they dropped the S from the flag?
No.
The Antifa flag is the SA flag, the Sturmabteilung.
Really? No, I didn't know.
They just took the S out, so now it's the A. But I think it's a coincidence. I don't think they're trying to tell you anything.
Okay, good.
Most of them probably don't even know what I'm talking about.
So come on, get us a screenshot. Show us what you're talking about. That's too.
Hank, you want me to start looking for it?
No, you can't. You can't multitask like that.
I'll tell you what. I'll put it on the Twitter feed of these things.
Okay.
So that people know what I'm talking about, and then we can put all of the election paraphernalia of Bill Clinton and Al Gore with the Dixie flag.
Right. Right.
Remember when they were the New South?
Of course. Listen, it's all the cynicism of the way they go after some symbolism and history, but again, you can count on communists to be communists. You can count on hippies to be hippies. You can count on scummy people to be scummy. But it's the elites who are charged with protecting and preserving the institutions from which they draw their own living and which has propelled them into greatness, that have signed off on absolutely all of this. There's no pushback whatsoever. They're letting these Palestinian mafiosi run back and forth across these campuses with just like the police do in the cities and on the campuses. No one gets arrested. They jump up on the White House fence, No arrests, no accountability for these people. And these are the, again, I expect unacculturated, pre-modern behemoths, as we say in Yiddish, beastly people to act the way they're going to act. I expect that the people who should have the highest appreciation for and who, when they're talking about January 6th, are, oh my God, speaking. Did you see that video or about what's his name from the Bush? What come on.
I can't help you, otherwise I would.
The guy who was Bush's puppet master.
The
Not Cheney. Come on, someone in the.
Yeah, Cheney was nobody's puppet in there.
No. Who am I thinking of?
I don't know.
No, you do know. When I say it, you're going to be embarrassed.
Well, yeah, probably.
But the awful, terrible. What the hell is this?
Karl Rove?
I'm going to scroll through my.
Somebody here is suggesting Karl Rove.
Yeah, Rove. Yeah, Rove. You said Roof. And
Roof.
Roof. Roof. Yes, Karl Rove. Did you see? He was speaking on MSNBC. They had it, of course, but I don't think he was speaking at some event and says every one of these sons of bitches from January 6th should be hunted down. I mean, this guy, absolute beast. I mean, boy.
They're morons. They're morons on steroids. And by the way, I still remember, I'm old enough to remember Loretta Lynch warning the world that Trump's election meant blood on the streets.
It did, but not from the.
When was she arrested?
It did. They had riots at the inauguration.
And then in January, we had riots at the inauguration, and for a whole month after that, of people destroying downtowns.
No, but that was okay.
But that was not an attack on democracy. No. And the summer of our discontent in 2020, what was that all about?
Let's face it. It is. This is. I mean, look. Anyone listening to this knows the story already, so we don't need to. Karl Rove blasts Donald Trump's January 6th. Okay, hold on. Karl Rove wants everyone at J6 thrown in jail. Every one of these sons of bitches who did that, we ought to find them, try them, and send them to jail. That's Karl Rove, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, wow. Listen, it's against the law to break the law. I'm not saying otherwise. If you break into the Capitol, you break window. Listen, but they just they just convicted a 71-year-old lady.
Yep.
Who went there to watch.
Yeah, I saw the thing open and walked in, which is bad, but it's
bad.
It doesn't call for anything more than a small fine at worst.
It's freaking unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. And by the way, the people who are doing these are the people who had no freaking problem pardoning or commuting the sentences of those who put bombs in the Capitol.
Absolutely.
They put a bomb in the House, and 10 years later, a bomb in the Senate. And those people were caught and sentenced, and Obama and Clinton sprung him out of jail. So tell me again about this aggression at the heart of democracy. I want to hear it.
Say it again. You want to
tell me again about this aggression at the heart of democracy?
There's aggression directed to the heart of democracy.
Directed to the heart, and in the heart of democracy, which is what Nancy Pigliosi, that obscenity with legs, it told people. The worst attack at the Capitol ever, like worse than two bombs, worse than
The people out
Killing
yeah.
Capitol Police officers at the freaking rotunda? Worse than that?
Listen, we're going over we're gonna lose people, Saul, because we're going over well-worn territory. Plus, I mean, look, we're already on the list. It's not like
Yes.
I'm not afraid of being on the list. If I'm not on the list now, then
There's nothing I can do to get on the list either. I'm running out of ideas here. Joanne Smith is saying Pelosi enabled the whole thing. Changed my mind. I can't.
No. I mean, she was giving a walking tour. I mean, come on. It's so she refused the police protection. Listen, this is But listen, look. Everybody knows that you are a Q guy, so of course.
I am the father of Q. Because I kept humping his mother. Idiots. Idiots on steroids. I am on the record on January 6th telling people what we are saying now.
That this is a setup.
I was, by the way, some of them were in a setup, but allowing them to go as far as they did is there were morons on steroids that were having, this kind of, I call it intellectual masturbation. This is how they do it. And
that's giving them a lot of credit. That there's anything intellectual about it.
Yes.
What's intellectual about it is that they have the manner in which they have gamed the entire messaging across the media and across the elite institutions. And then you get a guy like Karl Rove, who was 10 years ago, he was Hitler. He was the embodiment of everything these people hated and fought against.
Yes.
They drag him out of his coffin full of soil.
Political coffin. Yes, you can say
it. In his dirt-filled coffin to condemn these people, but this goes to look what this is about above all between the Democrats and the Republicans is phenomenal contempt for the great unwashed. And believe me, I'm not against elitism. Okay. I believe that democracy has some serious risks, but the people who have attached their tentacles to the power and money and institutions of this country,
right,
are so contemptuous of
the hoi polloi.
Not only hoi polloi, but even, let's put it this way, they consider everyone who is not upper crust hoi polloi. So even a middle class person, a working class person.
But you see, the problem is that they are not upper crust. Pelosi would not have made it into my family's house as a maid. Biden wouldn't cut it to work as a gentleman's assistant. These are not the high class. These are the lumpen with economic power.
That's right. Listen, I definitely don't mean that there's anything.
By the way, you want elitist? I'll give you elitist.
Give it.
I don't believe you can have a meritocracy without a dose of elitism.
A dose of what?
Elitism.
Right. Well, that's right, because that's an engine for achievement.
Yes. And frankly, I take a look at those in power in the Democratic Party, and they don't qualify as an elite. They don't qualify as a meritocracy. They hardly qualify as the great unwashed themselves.
Well, I mean, really, look at them. I mean, really, the most respectable person in that party right now is John Fetterman.
Amazing, isn't it?
Well, because they thought he would never recover, and that they had another Joe Biden situation here, where they just had to point the direction toward the cameras, and they would tell him where to sign, and he would sign. And instead, he's apparently a stroke is capable of completely doing a 52 card pickup on your neurons,
Yes.
and he's absolutely calling them like he sees them.
The stroke killed the bad half of his brain.
And all the punks that worked in his office resigning
Yes.
because he's not pro Hamas.
Nope. On the contrary, I should say, he's taken it a couple of notches over there. But that's not the only issue either.
Yeah, tell me what else has there been? That's what I've noticed. That's what I've noticed in particular.
Well,
Common sense things.
Fetterman on the border, have you heard him?
I don't think so.
The guy wants to take Abraham tanks to the border.
Abrams tanks.
I mean, he is more gung-ho against the league than the, I don't know, than
the most
biblical nationalists.
Guess what? He was supposed to be a radical leftist, okay?
Yes.
If he's a radical leftist as traditionally understood, meaning that he's pro-labor, labor organizing is all about cartelizing employment. Unions are a cartel meant to exclude those who will work for less from the workplace so that those who have jobs can maximize their income. Fine, it's part of the game. It's part of the game. But letting illegal immigrants in to, completely destroy the labor market. That's not something that someone who's pro-labor should appreciate.
No, but he goes even further than that. And by the way, he's been a great surprise to me.
Yeah.
I didn't expect either his position on the border or his position on Israel, and yet there he is.
And I'll tell you the truth, I don't think Dr. Oz would have come through like that.
I'm almost sure he wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I never liked Dr. Oz.
Well, there's no particular.
I said it when he was in the primary. I said it when he was picked as a candidate. I said, I'm going to encourage my friends to vote Republican, but because I'm concerned about control of the agenda in the Senate, not because I like the son of a bitch. I hope I never see him again.
No, listen, it's really a mess, and people are depressed, which is what they want. They want people to lose hope.
No, I thought that was long COVID. long COVID causes, if you know, anxiety, depression, and shrinkage.
Shrinkage
is a lot of people who are very unhappy with very tiny dicks, and they attribute it to COVID. Now, by the way, pretty soon it's going to be the new avian flu.
The new avian flu.
Yes, there's the avian flu. Now, apparently a couple of cows.
Well, that sounds actually kind of speciesist. I don't think you're allowed to blame diseases. We stopped blaming diseases on countries. So now it would be wrong for us to blame them on
chickens,
on animals. They have no choice. They have no agency.
No. If a Chinese farmer fucks a chicken and gets a new form of flu, it's not the chicken's fault.
Now, Zionism, on the other hand, that's something you can always blame things on.
I have to bite my tongue. I keep forgetting we're in your boob. Rove appears to be attacking Trump for doing what he refused to do. Oh, God. No. Rove got a lot of credit for something he didn't do. When Bush called him the architect of his triumph in 2000, no. Give me a freaking break. Actually, he was an imbecile that nearly cost Bush the election. Bush was running against an asshole who sneaked into the White House with Billy the Goat with 40% of the vote. You know, when the Democrats tell you about the popular vote, I'll bet you 10 to 1 they don't want to talk about Clinton's popular vote. 60% of the country hated their guts. And they managed to sneak in courtesy of Ross Perot.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Imagine that. It drove me nuts at the time, and it still does. And in 2000, Al Gore was like the retarded version of Clinton without the woman appeal.
Well, I guess not. I mean, I don't know anyone who. I don't think women actually. I think that Clinton was a guy who forced himself on a lot of women, and he had that knack for being able to do so.
Yeah.
I don't think he was really like a JFK kind of matinee idol.
Oh, no. JFK didn't have to chase him or force himself upon them. They would throw themselves at him like Pelosi. Oh, you never saw the picture?
I don't know. I know that I've heard such things, but I never saw the picture. No.
Oh, I have a picture. I have to find it and send it to you of Pelosi and JFK after she had a private meeting with him, and he's looking at her like a cat looking at a canary. I mean, the picture that's better than 1,000 words. Pelosi was a Kennedy groupie. But you're right. I mean, there is no comparison here. However, women in America tended to vote for this idiot for reasons that I will never fully understand.
What for Clinton?
Yes.
Abortion, right? Isn't that what it's?
It's a pity that Clinton's mother wasn't an abortionist.
Okay.
The very idea, you know, when you look at some of these people, let's talk about this. Can you conceive of the idea that Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez were once the fastest sperm?
Even though they're decidedly not the sharpest knives.
Oh, never, but the fastest sperm, which is kind of like in itself an ode to anti-conceptives.
Well, but I mean, it also demonstrates that God runs the world. That you think you've got it all figured out. That this whole kind of evolutionary biology thing, and these are the superior genes that had to be replicated. Okay, these were the ones that in contrast to all the other spermatozoa that were in action that day, were superior. And what we actually see is that God wanted to bring these people into the world for reasons that still remain rather obscure to us.
The only reason you can understand this is with Sholem Aleichem. And God is a prankster. Look what I'm going to do to you. Boom! Here goes that idiot. Say, Kamala Harris. I can picture God laughing his ass off every time she opens her mouth.
When you talk about these figures, what is it when people we know people who are professionals and well educated and really people with high intelligence, when they pretend to think that these are actually respectable people. You see the comments on Twitter, wow, she, God, yeah, go Kamala. You were a great prosecutor. I mean, like, is it mass insanity? Do they really believe? Is there any chance that I think they really do believe it? Because I think that
Yeah, there's always an idiot out there, but the majority of them is just shameless pandering. It's shameless pandering. It's people hoping to be hired as an intern in the Democratic campaign, and they need to cement their bona fides by showing all of their support for this moron. And because I cannot believe that people of good faith with half a brain would actually speak of any of these characters without derision. The same, you and I will never speak of the higher intellectual capabilities of Karl Rove. And never say never, because if somebody offered you a couple of $1 million, I know you'll think about it. I know I would think about it.
Think about what? About selling yourself out, to be one of these people? Yeah.
Maybe.
I would like to clear. I'd like to provide for my family. Sure.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do it once and retire.
Right.
Maybe. I'm not saying I would do it, but I would definitely consider it.
And you know what happens clearly, and I say this from observation, not from personal experience, is that guys with maybe a certain amount of common sense say to themselves, heck, this is I'm a principled person, but yeah, I'll do it for a year. I'll do it for a short time. I'll do it, and then and they become addicted to that level of wealth and power. Have you ever been in the White House?
Yes.
You walk in the White House, right? It's just oozing. The military guards stand at attention, and the grandeur, and all of a sudden you're going there every day for work. You have an office in the White House. You have an office in the Capitol. And people who have moments of principle, or basically maybe principled people, but who have moments of weakness, and they say, listen, I'll do it for a short time. I have to support my family. They rationalize just as we're admitting that we would.
Yes.
They cannot pull themselves away from the teat.
No. So once they latch onto the teat, they die sucking it dry.
They really do.
There is. You're absolutely correct. Even people. I remember a guy that I knew once. He was in Argentina. He's still a very important fellow there, so I'm not going to give you the name in public, but I will give it to you later. And he had been offered. He was a parodist, like 70% of the country then, and today. And he had refused to run for office. He had been offered in a gazillion occasions to run for office. He systematically refused, and he told me he wasn't accepting any of that because he wanted to work in the equivalent of the DNC, en la Mesa Nacional Justicialista, who are the guys who determine not only who runs for office, but in what position in the list. Essentially, they are the only people in Argentina who elect anybody to office.
Yep.
And of course, you don't do that without previous payment. And of course, representatives, senators, they owe you their position, not voters. So whatever you want, you get. And he managed to do it. And he was a great guy, and we traveled together for a while. We were trying to set up an airline in La Rioja where the governor was Carlos Saul Menem, the biggest fucking thief I ever met.
Menem. Oh, boy, yeah, I remember Menem.
And I knew him. I knew him in his underwear. I'm not kidding. Having mate in underwear behind the house.
In his gotchkas.
And one day I said, listen, so and so, you're a good guy. I know you're a good guy. We've been friends forever. You're a loyal friend. You're an intelligent person. You know these people are filthy fuckers. What are you doing with them? And he looked at me and said, and what would you like me to do? I'm 52 years old. At the time I was maybe 28, 30. I'm 52 years old. I have a wife and 2 kids going to college. I have never done anything else in my life. I don't know how to do anything else. I couldn't get a job as a janitor. But I can do this and I can do it well. So what am I to do? If not me, somebody else will. And I had to admit that, amoral as it was, he had a reason. I wonder how many are like that in the US. I wonder how many people were Democrats when the Democrats weren't totally fucking crazy. And now he said, what do you want me to do?
Especially the ones, let's pull it back a level from people who are explicitly political. People who are partners in major law firms, executives in major corporations. They've been moderates politically their entire lives. They had to choose one side or the other. And, once once the institutions of communication were compromised, then being a Republican became a crime against humanity. It was even safer, easier to be a Democrat. And now look who they're in bed with. What are they, like you said, what are they going to do?
What are they going to do? You know who comes to mind? Oh, God, I had it on the tip of my tongue and decided to.
Colorado.
Lieberman.
Yeah, okay. Boy, yeah, Joe Lieberman.
Joe Lieberman was a mensch. He was a good guy. He was a good friend. He was kind to everybody. All the time. He wasn't a fanatic. He was a guy who was obviously on the side of collectivism, but without exaggeration. And he was always ready to find a middle ground that everybody can live with. At one point, he realized that the party had left him, that he was a Menshevik in a party controlled by the Bolsheviks. If he didn't realize that when the left primaried him in Connecticut, I don't think he ever would have, but he did. He didn't run as an independent with Republican support, because the Republicans in Connecticut blessedly realized they couldn't win anyhow, so anything is preferable to Karl Marx over there.
Right. That was one of the real last stands in American politics.
But then he caucused with the Democrats, who had just betrayed him. His ass was still bleeding from the anal rape he suffered at the hands of his own party. And yet he gave the Democrats the majority in the Senate. It must have been an impossible leap of the intellect for him to abandon the party of his life.
Because that was his God.
Yes.
That was ultimately more than principle. It's let me flash of brilliance. Just as your friend said, what can I do? My obligations, my wife, my children, my place in the world. Joe said, what can I do? my party, my
My
place in the
friends.
world. Like Bukharin crawling back to Stalin.
Yeah.
No matter how much abuse you suffer at the hands of the party, you show your loyalty to the party.
Yep.
And one of the things I'm always trying to get across, Shaul, is people always say, why are Democrats so effective legislatively? The Republican, the caucus is not, there's no party discipline. Listen, I don't want to idealize Republicans because they leave a lot to be desired. But the Democrats are a bona fide Bolshevik style left-wing party. They have party discipline, and you don't depart from party discipline. And if you do, you will not get the nomination.
No.
And there's only one Joe Lieberman in a generation.
Yes. And Jackie Schumer will enforce that discipline like Lavrentiveria.
Like they enforce it on him. I mean, and also that other capo, the Secretary of State. These people.
Blinken, the guy who's named after a Santa reindeer.
And the Jews will vote the 80%, not the Orthodox Jews, but the Democrat, the liberal Jews will vote 80% for Biden, no matter what he does.
No matter what.
Recognize Hamas as the head of a state. They will
do it anyway.
From here till kingdom come.
Speaking of that, watch out, because the government of Spain is about to recognize Hamas as a Palestinian state. And then they're going to ask the UN to admit it, which I don't know how they can, because it doesn't fulfill any of the qualifications.
Doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter because, anti-Jews in the UN abound. Does it mean anything? Nah.
Does it? Well, it means something. Does it mean anything? I mean, we used to think that, well, there are rules in place, there is a constitution, and there are norms, but what we see is that those things will be swept away in a second for, political need nationally. So there's no reason that wouldn't happen internationally as well. And that's, we lived, Saul, through a time of through a golden age. Unfortunately, we're not dead yet. So we get, like, if it was amazing the 30, 40 years that we lived through, when votes were counted, elections were contested, judges judged, and yes, there were people who were warped, and there were people who
always.
But the system operated in a way that you could say there was a system, there was choice, there was legitimacy. What's legitimate now?
It's fun. It's funny you should put it that way, because I used to explain to people in South America, when, of course, that when somebody wallows in misery, apparently their only consolation is to find that others are wallowing in misery too.
Right.
So they would tell me, I don't know why you speak about corruption here. In the US, they are corrupt too. And I would tell them there is a difference between a corrupt cop and a corrupt system of justice. Yes, you will find a corrupt cop in the US who will take $100 to let you go or to look the other way. But that is not the system. This is the individual. In South America, the entire freaking system is corrupt from its design. Well, I can't say that of the US yet, but we're getting there.
We are.
Corruption is more pervasive, and I can say that not in the US, but in New York, it definitely is.
Well, New York is even though my office is in Newark, I have most of my work is done in New York,
Yeah.
Just right out that window there. Those are the lights from New York that you see all the way in the distance. It used to be that although the New York legal systems, the court, especially the state court system, has always been a little bit Byzantine.
Yes.
Nonetheless, there was a certain amount of pride that came with being the commercial and cultural center of the country, and a sense that the legal system was arguably the most sophisticated, especially, even in the state courts. And what they have shown of themselves in the last couple of years has been phenomenal. And the legal system and the legislature as well. I mean, they passed a law basically specifically so that Donald Trump could be sued for sexual assault.
Yeah. They passed a law with retroactive effect, which is in itself an abomination, for the sole purpose of trying Trump for a rape nobody knows when it happened by a woman who was wearing a dress that hadn't been designed yet.
Well, that's what made her so irresistible.
And after this, one shot is no longer viable. You can't sue anybody else under that law. You have the legislature and the judiciary and everybody else corrupt as corrupt can be.
And then the governor has you talk about one shot, and the governor has the audacity to say on the criminal case, where they decided the Mar-a-Lago was really only worth a ping pong table and
$18 million. Yeah.
Right. So
there is furniture in one room in Mar-a-Lago that is worth more than that.
So the governor has the audacity to reassure the real estate investment community, don't worry, we won't go show trial on you guys. It was just for Trump.
Yeah.
Isn't that
wonderful?
As much as admitted.
Yes.
And everybody was just fine. Trust me, I know these people. I don't know them. I know the community. There are major problems in New York real estate, and that sure as hell didn't help.
No.
But then again, structurally speaking, they've got major problems there.
Yeah. I remember when I came to New York in 1975, this is before I came back permanently. And my dad took me to various places. We need to talk about that one day. One of them was Francis Tavern, just before the Puerto Rican nationalists bombed it with 5 dead and 50 wounded. And the asshole who did that had a sentence commuted by Obama and set free. Because,
because of the oppressed.
There is no terrorist Obama didn't love to death. And another place was around the corner from where we bought our loft. And it was a building you must visit every day. Beautiful Greek revival building in front of a square. And on top of the pillars on the frieze, the due administration of justice is the pillar of good government. I almost cried when I read that.
The New York Supreme Court building down in what is it?
Right, just north of City Hall.
Yeah, next to the federal court, next to the Thurgood Marshall Federal Court.
Right. In my loft was on Franklin Street, which ends on that square.
Right, Center Street.
Yeah, and God, what a concept for somebody coming from South America. That was like seeing the moon for the first time. And now I see New York and say, what the fuck happened here?
They pissed it away. They pissed California away. California was the most, the thing about New York, right, was
New
York was the transplantation of the old world into the new world. California was new world, complete fresh start, truly the ultimate American state, and the beauty and the limitless resources and the creative industries and the technology industry, everything was there. And now people are lining up to get out. I mean, there are no stores left in San Francisco.
No.
It's a ghost town.
And but Pacific Avenue. This San Francisco was one of the most beautiful and certainly the most livable city in the world up until 1982, 83. And they pissed it away.
They really
now it's a hellhole by any definition.
And I'm trying to find a way. I've been so busy on Twitter for so long that I have to admit, I'm now finding it hard to do anything remotely like long form writing, which is a shame because I really am a writer, but except the problem is I'm a very good writer, but I'm one of the world's best at Twitter. But there's an overarching theme here. It relates to my work as a trademark lawyer, which is mostly in my rearview mirror now. But it's the loss, and people like Marcus Quintus have heard me say this before in the chat. It's the drawing down on equity, whether it's brand equity or social equity, moral equity. We can give jobs to unqualified people to fix the world because there's always going to be enough money to patch up the problem. We can call stuff that isn't remotely artistic art because there are no real, we've built an entire civilization on art. So, we took for granted California is always going to be wealthy. San Francisco, it's always going to be perfect. It's always going to be desirable to be there. No, not only do these things not last forever, not only does money and beauty and social peace and what we call in Hebrew and Yiddish menuchas hanefesh, the transcendental psychic peace that a person can have in this world. Public spaces in this country.
It is a form of craziness, remember.
What is a form of craziness?
That transcendental.
Yeah.
But
That's right. You are removing yourself from reality, but we all need to have a time and a place where we can do that. And you, at the beginning, people who didn't, you were telling me about how beautiful it was to go to Spain and to go to and to experience things that we always thought would be there for us. We always thought these things would be there for us until they're not. Our country's big enough and our institutions are strong enough that we can import millions of people who share none of our values. I don't mean our values like the Yankees.
No.
Hollywood and saying
you mean our values like the sanctity of human life,
and just the idea of non-violent, the idea of pluralism, the idea of civilization itself. They don't, and our system was not set up to deal with that, and all the equity is just draining out.
Ronald Reagan used to say that and he isn't the originator anyway, but he used to say that we're never more than one generation away from losing it all. And
that's an important. You're right. You're amplifying a point that I was making.
Yeah, I never thought it would be my generation.
How fast you can lose everything, and you can see that in individual lives. People have respectable professional or political lives. And boom, all of a sudden they're texting with a teenage girl. or boom, all of a sudden, I mean, lives can be destroyed, and yet people. And when I say people, I'm not saying everyone, but Ron Coleman. I'm human too. We don't learn. We don't learn. We are so so driven to follow our desires, but there's supposed to be a collective sensibility where we cancel out each other's worst drives.
Yeah, but
before, so that the whole system shouldn't be garbage. That's gone. That's gone.
Is that the entire system is gone nihilistic on us?
Yeah,
and everything has to do with the pleasure of the moment. Yeah, you're correct. People don't learn from each other's mistakes anymore.
What are we going to do to end my time with you tonight on a positive note?
We will, but first of all, before we end with anything, let me say that if you're still watching, people, means that you're having fun. You're liking it. Confess it. You can say to us, yes, we like you, you bold, birded people. And if you do, it's time you bought us a cup of coffee or something, which you can do by clicking on support in Odysee or the $sign and send a tip to the chat or joining us a member. And you must definitely do it by joining these guys.
I need
subscriber.
Subscribe. You
Channel.
want to be a member? Great. Love to have you. We'll do special stuff together. But we got to get those sub numbers up.
We've got to get them up. We got to get them up because we love doing this, but it costs money, people.
It costs money. Yeah. I have lights on late at night.
Yes. And Ron here has what Twitter has not approved for me yet. He has a subscription channel in Twitter. It's cheaper than a cup of coffee at Starbucks and more useful than an education at Harvard. So if you want to get a real education and save hundreds of thousands of dollars in the process, get it. By the way, Ron, seriously, I've been watching your classes, your Wednesday classes.
Thank you.
And for somebody like me who knows everything, it's amazing the amount of new stuff I'm learning that I never knew.
Thank you. That makes me feel like I should continue doing it. So maybe
I think you should. I think and it is you make it amenable, and while you provide all of the technical information, you do it in a way that is not like crossing the Sahara Desert.
Thank you. Yeah.
You do it very amenable and very in colloquial terms where you explain the legalese so that people in the end, God forbid, may actually read some of these opinions and orders coming up from the courts that we see every day, and 90% of people don't know what the crap they have in front of their faces.
Including people who are supreme legal correspondents, for the mainstream media. Such nonsense. Thank you very much, Saul. Yeah, listen, folks.
Yeah. Subscribe to his channel.
You don't even have to join for those. I'm unlocking all the subscription lessons because they weren't driving subscriptions. Subscriptions are going to come from just love and a desire to support the channel.
Maybe we'll do these under subscription and see how it works.
Oh man, you really are tempting fate. Well, let's see what we do. I don't know about your propaganda sticker on the upper right hand corner there. Stand with Israel. That's I don't know if I'd go so much for that. That's kind of over the top. But this is your show.
Oh, so it is very over the top. No, it's not kind of over the top. It's over the top.
Okay.
On purpose.
Yeah, that's right. Just like you're wearing your yarmulke is over the top.
Yeah, this is over the top on purpose.
Really? Over the top.
Yeah, literally over the top. It would be extremely disrespectful to wear the yarmulke anywhere else.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's over the top. I understand, but I also understand a couple of things. We'll come back to subscriptions in a second because I'm not done singing your praises.
Oh,
I know you find it uncomfortable, and I don't give a shit. Um, October 7th is a pivotal date. It didn't teach me anything I didn't already know about Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran and Palestinian Islamic Jihad and Egyptian Islamic Jihad and the most varied collection of assholes under the most varied collection of names, but always the same people that I didn't know. I didn't expect anything but that. And yet, oh, look at that. This is for you, man. This came out of your channel.
yeah, well, because Marcus never leaves without a tip.
Excellent. I like Marcus, and I have some people like that, and they're the ones that allow you to that entice you to keep going.
That's right. That's right.
So
You were saying.
I didn't learn anything in October 7th I didn't know. I I relived horrors I had witnessed. I made the some people would think unwise decision to watch the videos.
Oh yeah, I couldn't do that.
Um, it triggered memories, and I don't recommend. Actually, no, that's not true. I recommend that everybody be forced to watch them because it's easy to talk. It's easy to dismiss when you don't know what the hell you're talking about. The savagery of these barbarians is not comparable to anything that you are accustomed to knowing of, let alone seeing. Now they're comparing it with the death of these 8 workers in Gaza who happen to be not in the authorized place but somewhere else. A moral of the story is if you are allowed into a war zone and are told to stay in a particular place, fucking do it. Because nobody is under the obligation of being your keeper. And Israel is over apologizing, I believe, because I think these idiots should have never moved from the designated place. And when they did, they took their lives in their hands. But the accidental death of 7 people who weren't even targeted is not comparable to the targeted torture, mutilation, and savagery that occurred on October 7th. I also happen to believe there is no such concept as an innocent Palestinian in Gaza. They celebrated on the streets. We saw the mutilated corpses of women paraded while bystanders fought over each other to hit them while singing the praises of the barbarians. I know innocence. That ain't it. So, to me, personally, I used to be far more
Balanced.
inclined to negotiate. I once supported the 2-state solution. The Palestinians convinced me it's a pipe dream long before this event. This event is the last nail in the coffin of the 2-state solution as far as I'm concerned. And on that day, I did tell everybody on my podcast that support for Israel at this point for me is unconditional and complete until Hamas is eradicated. And I do believe that after Hamas is done with, they have to turn and do the same thing with Hezbollah. And before, during, or after that, make sure that Iran has no military capability.
That's a big
Remember,
ask. It's a big ask.
I know it's a big ask, but remember when Ronald Reagan warned Iran, Iran attacked a couple of ships, and then in 48 hours we destroyed their fleet in their berths?
Well, we don't have that kind of leadership anymore.
No, but hopefully we will. And that's another thing. We have to strive to get that kind of leadership again. Because not just the US, the world cannot survive another 4 years of these peace grants. I'll say it openly, and I'll defend it by argument. So, to me, stand with Israel in this moment is a choice. Nobody's obligating me to do it. It is, I believe, an educated choice, and one in which I will not compromise at all. The only thing that would make me abandon my position is the unlikely event that Israel commits atrocities even remotely similar to what we've seen, because I cannot support that. But that is not the case, and it is not in the nature of the state of Israel. And for those who tell you that what we need is a state in Palestine that includes everybody, Christians, Jews, and Muslims, so they can live in harmony, I tell them that state already exists. It's Israel, assholes. From the Muslim president of the Supreme Court to fully 1/5 of their parliament, to a significant number of soldiers in the IDF who happen to be Muslim, or a similar amount who happen to be Coptic Christians. Israel is the one state in the Middle East where Christians, Jews, Muslims, atheists all enjoy the benefits of citizenship equally. It's not a Jewish state anymore. It's a state founded on Jewish morality, which is a completely different thing. And Jewish morality means an absolute respect for human life, which has led Israel to make many a mistake in the past, like releasing 1,000 terrorist ship-humping cretins for one soldier. And now, I saw a communique from the Biden office, which is the exact opposite of what we are discussing now, decrying the death of one American in this hullabaloo with the aid workers. Do you recall any kind of outraged proclamations from the White House for the 40 Americans who were killed or kidnapped by Hamas?
Certainly
How about
not.
the 49 Americans that have been killed or wounded by Hezbollah, Qatar Hezbollah, and the rest of these mothers out in Syria, Iraq, and Iran? It is a question of civilization or barbarism. And there can be no middle point, and there can be no negotiation. But that's me.
Thank God it's not just you. It's not
Thank
just you.
God, yeah.
But it's important for you to say it and for me to say it and for people who
Yes.
agree with us to say it, because people need to, unfortunately, people need to hear other people saying it so that they don't get just run over by the
relentless propaganda.
Yeah, it's true.
Yep.
Okay, senor.
Okay, senor. We've been going at it for an hour and a half, which is more than enough when we do this together.
Listen,
we need to figure out a way of doing this, because if you're going to broadcast these to your subscribers, I'm going to do the same with mine.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I'd be telling people, come and watch me for free. I'm not like that greedy asshole charging you.
Yeah, well, we'll have to figure out a way to do that. But yes, let's talk about how that might work. But not in front of
not in front of everybody, but now they have a pretty good idea that down the road, maybe the next show, maybe the following one,
there could be a cost to this.
There could be a cost to this, and I hope you'll pay it happily.
All right, good.
We'll talk it later. I just had an idea, but we'll talk it later.
If one of us has to have an idea, if it involves money, it's not going to be me. So,
okay, thank you for blaming me before the fact.
Well, I'm blaming you. I'm hoping.
I'm kind of like an accessory before the crime here.
All right. So
anyway,
good night.
Listen, I wanted to talk freedom of speech, but we'll leave that one for the next.
Yeah. Listen. Also,
it's always.
It's not going anywhere. That's right.
No, it's always at the front burner anyway. Thank you so much, Ron. Thank you, everybody who's put up with us this long, and I hope you will join us, even after we put you behind a subscription wall.
Right. Catch you later. Good night.
Take care. Good night. And off we go, but I have to find the thing. You see, there we are.